The fall of Constantinople history is not only shaped by victories, it is shaped by endings. Some moments do not simply change borders or rulers, they change the direction of the world itself. In the year 1453, one such moment arrived. A city that had stood for more than 1,000 years faced its final dawn. A city that bridged Europe and Asia. A city that carried the last living legacy of ancient Rome. Constantinople. What happened there was more than a siege. It was the collapse of an empire, the rise of a new power, and the moment the medieval world began to fade. This is the story of ambition, faith, steel, and destiny. This is the story of the fall of Constantinople. For over a millennium, Constantinople was unconquerable. Built by Emperor Constantine in the 4th century, the city was protected by the legendary Theodosian walls, massive triple-layered defenses stretching for miles. These walls had stopped Persians, Arabs, Bulgars, and even Crusaders. The city was not just strong, it was wealthy, it was sacred, it was symbolic. To Christians, it was the heart of the Eastern Roman Empire. To Muslims, it was a prize long promised. By the 15th century, however, the Byzantine Empire was no longer a mighty power. It had shrunk to little more than the city itself and a few scattered territories. Surrounded by the rapidly expanding Ottoman Empire, Constantinople stood like an island in hostile waters, and the Ottomans had a new ruler. His name was Mehmed II. He was only 21 years old, but he had a vision that burned inside him since childhood. He would take Constantinople. Mehmed was not reckless. He was patient. He studied the city's defenses. He prepared his army carefully. He built a massive fortress on the European side of the Bosporus called Rumeli Hisari, cutting off aid from the Black Sea. He assembled an army estimated at nearly 80,000 men. But his greatest weapon was not his soldiers. It was artillery. A Hungarian engineer named Orban constructed enormous cannons for the Ottomans. Weapons unlike anything the medieval world had seen. One of them, known as the Basilic, was capable of firing massive stone balls weighing hundreds of kilograms. For centuries, Constantinople's walls had defied swords and arrows, but they had never faced cannons like these. Inside the city, Emperor Constantine XI prepared for the inevitable. He knew help from Western Europe would likely not arrive in time. Religious divisions between Catholic and Orthodox Christians had weakened support. Still, he refused to surrender. He gathered what defenders he could, perhaps 7,000 soldiers in total. Among them were Byzantine troops and a small but determined group of Genoese fighters led by Giovanni Giustiniani. They repaired walls. They stocked supplies. They prayed. The final siege would begin on April 6, 1453. At dawn, the cannons roared. The sound shook the earth. Smoke filled the sky. Stone shattered. For days, then weeks, the Ottomans bombarded the walls. Each blast chipped away at defenses that had stood for centuries. But the defenders fought fiercely. At night, they repaired damaged sections. They repelled assaults. They held the line. Mehmed tried direct attacks. Waves of infantry storming the breaches. They were beaten back. The city still stood, so Mehmed changed tactics. Constantinople was protected on one side by the Golden Horn, a natural harbor secured by a massive iron chain stretched across its entrance. Ottoman ships could not enter, but Mehmed did something unexpected. He ordered his fleet to be dragged over land. Using greased logs and manpower, Ottoman ships were rolled across hills and launched into the Golden Horn behind the chain. When the citizens of Constantinople awoke to see enemy ships inside their harbor, shock spread through the city. Now the walls were threatened from multiple directions. The siege tightened. Weeks passed. Food began to run low. Fatigue grew. Fear spread. Yet Emperor Constantine refused to abandon his people. On May 28, 1453, he addressed his soldiers for the final time. He reminded them of their history, of their faith, of their duty. He declared he would die defending the city. That night, churches filled with worshipers. Orthodox and Catholics prayed together. Divisions forgotten in the face of annihilation. The next morning would decide everything. Before sunrise on May 29th, the final assault began. The Ottoman army attacked in waves. First came irregular troops, meant to exhaust the defenders. Then came more disciplined soldiers. Finally, the elite Janissaries advanced. Cannons blasted, arrows flew, swords clashed. The fighting was brutal and chaotic. At a critical moment, Giovanni Giustiniani was severely wounded and carried away. His departure shook morale among the defenders. Then, near a small gate known as the Kirka Porta, Ottoman forces found a weakness. They poured through. The walls had been breached. Emperor Constantine removed his royal insignia so he would not be recognized. He charged into the fighting. He was never seen again. By midday, Ottoman flags flew above Constantinople. After more than 1,000 years, the Byzantine Empire had fallen. The city was looted, as was customary in medieval warfare. But Mehmed soon entered Constantinople and took control. He did not destroy the city. He claimed it. He converted the Hagia Sophia into a mosque. He declared the city his new capital. Constantinople would become Istanbul, and the Ottoman Empire would rise as one of the most powerful states in the world. The fall of Constantinople sent shockwaves across Europe. Trade routes to Asia were disrupted. Scholars fled westward, carrying ancient Greek and Roman texts. Some historians believe this helped fuel the Renaissance. Others see 1453 as the symbolic end of the Middle Ages. Gunpowder had shattered walls once thought eternal. The age of castles was fading. A new era had begun. For centuries, Constantinople had been called the Queen of Cities. Its fall was not just a military defeat. It was the closing of a chapter that began with Rome itself. Yet history does not stop. From its ashes rose a new empire. New cultures flourished. New stories began. The city endured, transformed but alive. Today, Istanbul stands where Constantinople once stood. Its skyline still dominated by domes and minarets. Its streets layered with Roman, Byzantine, and Ottoman history. The echoes of 1453 still linger there, in stone, in memory, in legend. The video ends here. If you liked it, subscribe for more such videos.